How was church today?
The worst.
The worst.
Hey, I realized, by the way, last week that I go, "Oh, your knees hurt," and I'm an idiot because
Why?
we covered that
Oh,
last week. I was like,
surgery.
Oh,
"Your knees hurt." Our first episode, we talked about it.
yeah. I just chalked it up to old age and forgetfulness.
I'm freaking senile at this point. It's so dumb.
Yes.
As long as the will is written, it's okay.
It's not.
Oh, dang it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Odd Testament podcast. This is episode number 6. My name is Ryan.
My name is Eric.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hi, Greg. And whether you're here for a laugh or a fresh perspective on scripture, you've come to the right place, because this is where we dive into the weird, strange, odd, curious stories of the Bible. We're so glad you tuned in, guys. I'm glad that you're here with me because I really enjoy doing this with you. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Come on. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah.
It's all right.
Oh,
So,
sorry.
wow, that was less than enthusiastic,
Yeah.
Greg. Thanks for that. I'm just kidding.
You're okay.
You're the cool guy in the podcast, right? Where
You guys
like
are okay.
you're indifferent about being here.
Yeah.
You can't show your appreciation, otherwise people might take advantage of it, right?
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
which is my good side? Is it this one or this one?
We're just encouraging the video podcast
Mhm.
listeners.
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes, there you go. So, to get started, guys, I do have a get to know you question.
Get to know you.
There you go. Yes, I that theme song is coming. I just got to find the perfect music. So, it's my get to know you question is about pet peeves this week,
Mhm.
but it's kind of twofold. 2 categories. What is your pet peeve as a pastor as far as when it comes to church stuff? And then just personally, take the pastor hat off. Personally, what's your pet peeve as just a regular human? Who wants to go first?
Ooh, the pastor one I'll have to think about a little bit.
Mhm.
My pet peeve is well, okay, I got 3 boys, and every time we added a boy to our family, the house got louder, but I think the squeal got louder. So my 3rd boy doesn't scream, squeals, and I now have to like yell like, buddy, you gotta quit squealing. Like, I'm trying to like explain to him like, listen, I will go for a scream right now if it's just not the high pitched and it rings and it goes forever. I'm just like, I can't do it anymore. So I can't do that. But before kids, it was like mouth noises, like people not chewing with their mouth closed and all that stuff. I
So
got
you
to
don't
fight.
do the ASMR stuff?
No, definitely not. No.
Like this.
Yeah. It's the whisper. You gotta. It's going in. You gotta like have the. No, I cannot do it. It's the even when the mouth is really dry and the saliva clicks, like I'm just.
It's like sticky. Yeah.
Oh no. So, anyways, that's my big one. I'll have to come if you can go through the round, and I'll come up with the pastor one.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I think I have my pastor one. Never mind. I just thought like I needed 10 more seconds with it. God told me.
Oh yeah.
Good one.
I just wanna whenever I hear that, I go, well, I guess I can't say anything. And then when I do, I had this conversation with a friend of mine, and he told me, hey, I'm gonna do this big thing, this really big, massive change in his life. And he wasn't coming to me to like go, is this something that you think I should do? Hey, pastor, like you've been a mentor in my life. It was just, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm just telling you that's how it is. And I was like, hey man, I think that might be like, I think there's a ton of background. So I was like, maybe just slow it down. Like that thing's not going anywhere. Like just give yourself a little bit more time to process some changes that are happening in your life. And his response very aggressively was, so you're telling me that I should slow down on what God told me? And I was like, well,
Yes.
yeah. Like, sure, if that's like, I don't think God told you. Like, is that what you want me to say? Like, I think your feelings told you. So anyways,
Yeah,
so there's my pastor pet peeve. God told me. And I'm like,
that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Wow.
you can
Yeah.
take it,
You won.
you can have your rant with that phrase.
No, I have a different one for
Okay.
sure.
Well, Ryan, I was gonna say, Ryan, it sounds like you need to go next.
Sure. So my personal one is this has been my pet peeve for a long time, and it's not stopping, and so I'm guessing it's probably going to be pet peeve for the rest of my life. Is when anybody chews with their mouth open.
Yeah.
I mean, it just infuriates me. I mean, like I see red when it happens. I don't understand why. It must be inherited because my family is like that too. Gosh, my 6-year-old is the worst with it. And
Yeah.
like and I try so hard to be patient. But it's almost, I mean, he's trolling me. He's got to be at this point where like we'll be at the table and he sits right next to me and he's just he is loving his food, right? Just
Looking you dead in the
I
eye.
was gonna say, is he staring you down?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I go, hey bud, you got to chew with your mouth closed. He goes, okay. I'm like, oh my gosh. Last night we were no, not last night, Friday night, we were doing a family movie night. And everyone was eating popcorn except me. I'm trying to start doing intermittent fasting, and so I'm just sitting there by myself, not eating anything, but everyone else is eating popcorn. All of them, it sounded like, were just going to town with their mouths open. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to bed at this point. This is not even worth it to me. So that is probably my biggest personal pet peeve as far as church goes. The churchy religious answers when I ask people questions that I want a genuine answer to, like, that kind of thing. So like if I, I'm hanging out with someone, we're not even in a church setting, hanging out with somebody. I ask them, what are you reading? Well, I'm reading the Bible, brother. I'm like, shut up. Like,
how are you doing? Blessed and highly favored, brother.
Yes. Oh gosh, that's another one. Yes. I'm like, oh gosh, like great. Thanks for that. Let's get to the real stuff now.
There are those random people that's actually true.
They really mean
Sure.
it. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
you're like, no, I want you to keep with that answer because that's really true. The rest of them.
Yes, but you can see who's genuine in it and who's not, or you can feel it at least, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like
it
get
really
out of here.
It depends on how high the turtleneck goes, because the higher the turtleneck, the more genuine your love for Jesus. And so if you ask a congregant and their turtleneck is just at their chin, then that means whatever they're saying is absolutely true. So yeah.
Where did that come from?
The 90s church. I just feel like my piano teacher, her name was Jean, and she's the sweetest lady.
Oh yeah.
But outside of her hands, I don't think in her face, I don't think a single thing of like flesh showed. And it was like turtleneck up to the neck. And then every time we talked to her, she was, just genuinely had a scripture for everything, loved God, was like only like if you asked her, the only reason she played the piano was to worship God. Like that it was. And then I was like, okay, cool. So I still remember her, and every person in my head that is that person, I'm going, oh, you must have like 8 turtlenecks in your closet. Like,
But so
Nice.
yes, so if it's a genuine answer, doesn't bother me. Like Greg,
Uh-huh.
if I was to ask you, what are you reading? You're like, I'm really stuck on this thing in Judges. I'll be like, oh yeah, tell me about it, because I know like that's genuine.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're. But like if I'm trying to get to know you and I ask you a simple question
Oh,
like
yeah.
that, and because I'm a pastor, you tell me you're reading the Bible. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, thanks. So, anyways. I don't want to start getting bitter about this. So Greg, you go.
Your own question. You're like, who asked this?
I'm currently reading books about a wizard in Chicago. Oh, is that the question? No. Okay.
No.
I mean the Bible. That's it.
The
I'm a
Bible's your
problem.
pet peeve?
Pet peeve. I'm trying to get over them, but driving slow in the left-hand lane. Um,
Walmart shoppers.
mm,
Come on.
yeah. So yeah, I feel like I have a bunch, and I'm trying to become a better human. Because there's okay, this would be a second one. And this is from church people, but this is a tiny pet peeve, but it connects with the first. So
Mhm.
let's say I say, man, drivers in the left-hand lane going slow. Inevitably, right now, someone says, if I'm in a church setting and I say that, well, you never know their story, and so I want to leave. I just want to go home and curl up and maybe cry for a minute and be like, I don't know their story.
Because of the conviction, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. And the dumb part is they're right. I'm frustrated because they're wrong too, because I should still be able to be frustrated
Yeah.
without that kind of, I don't know what it is. But at the same time, if I allow myself to go down the train of I'm trying to be a better person, and I go, that actually would be a coping mechanism for this. If I went, I don't know what they're dealing with, because
Sure.
sometimes I like when the light turns green and they don't go, I'm thinking, are you waiting for a different shade of green? And then I'm the jerk, right? Because anyway.
Do you remember do you remember the story of it was a husband and wife driving in the car. I don't remember who this was, but they were behind someone who was really slow, and then the husband speeds up to get around them, and the wife goes, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong in this. He goes, I just want to see what an idiot looks like.
What he said, I want to see what stupid looks like.
That was the speed of it.
Isn't that great? That's brilliant. That's just awesome. Anyway, so my pet peeve is apparently with myself, in that I break rules or good guidelines, good little wisdom pieces, because they're presented to me at the wrong time. Look, Karen, just give me 30 seconds of feeling self-righteous, all right, before you step on me.
100%.
Quit kicking me in the face, all right? I'm trying to be judgy, and then I'm going to repent. Just give me that space. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I won't repent, but at some point I'll grow out of this. But you're not going to be the agent of my growth until later that night, in which I'm like, she was right.
But maybe the Holy Spirit was speaking through
Oh,
Karen.
good Lord.
God told her.
What's possible? It's probably true. We're talking about somebody that's going to be, yeah, we're going to come. Maybe we'll come back to this because we're talking about a story tonight that,
Do you have a church or a pastor pet peeve?
well, that was kind of it. People saying that.
How about people praying for
Applying-
others and their breath
yeah.
stinks?
applying wrong characters. Like they're they're looking for like they have an idea and they use Ryan's crying over breast stinking. That's
You ever have someone pray for you? It's a really good prayer, but you can't hear it because
because their
it's,
breath is just kicking. Just
I'm sorry, I
swallowed
can't
the entire
receive.
coffee pot. Yeah,
I laughed so hard I got lightheaded and almost fell out of my chair.
that'd have been
Oh
great.
my gosh. Was
So-
not expecting the breathsticks thing.
That would not be a pet peeve of mine. It would be, I don't know what you'd call it, but yeah.
When we at my previous church, when we would do altar calls, the prayer team leader, the pastors would be invited up to the front of the stage, and the prayer team leader would go to each one of us and hand us like a little thing of oil and breath mints. And we'd be like, this is great. Like, I have the resources that I need for whatever happens. So we'd always put the breath mint in because, yeah, there is nothing
Yeah.
worse than just a complete disconnection because you're like, eh,
Yep.
yeah, I had
You
peanut
could-
butter
you
crackers
had-
before I walked here.
You could fry up a steak and you can keep your breath clean. That's what the oil is for, right?
That's what
Nope.
it was. Yeah.
No? Am I missing? Okay. Maybe I missed that. So
Ooh, gosh. Well, thanks, guys. That was
Anyway.
that was a
welcome.
fire way to start. Yes, love it. So we are getting into I think an awesome story tonight. In Numbers 22. This is the story of the prophet Balaam, but he's not Israel's prophet. He's just like a pagan
numbers.
prophet. Yeah, Numbers
That's a
22.
Bible book.
Yeah, it's actually really brilliant too. Man, it's funny to me that like people look at scripture and they're like, it's antiquated, it's outdated. Those guys, they were idiots. I'm like, this stuff is brilliant literature. It's so good. I love Numbers. It's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to read through the story a little bit, and then we could discuss as we go. If you guys have any thoughts, just stop me and we'll dive in. Cool.
Yeah. Let's go.
So Numbers chapter 22, just going to start in verse 1. This is a story of King Balak and Balaam. So then the people of Israel traveled to the plains of Moab and camped east of the Jordan River across from Jericho. Balak, son of Zippor, the Moabite king, had seen everything the Israelites did to the Amorites. Greg, can you summarize really quickly what the Israelites did to the Amorites?
They beat them up really bad.
Like West Side Story style?
Yes, dancing and snapping.
Yes, love it. Cool. So they beat up the Amorites. This Moabite king saw it. And when the people of Moab saw how many Israelites there were, they were terrified. The king of Moab said to the elders of Midian, "This mob will devour everything in sight like an ox devours grass in the field." So Balak, king of Moab, sent messengers to call Balaam, son of Beor, who was living in his native land of Pethor near the Euphrates River. His message said, "Look, a vast horde of people has arrived from Egypt. They cover the face of the earth and are threatening me." Just really quickly, were they really threatening him? I mean, because it didn't seem like that was the case. It just seemed like Balak got word Israel's coming, and he maybe was a little insecure. Like, were they really threatening?
Yeah, but not in the way they were threatening to him, but they weren't threatening him. So you asked about the Amorites. The Israel's coming up north, getting ready to go up near the Jordan River, a little further east, and they go to the Amorites and say, "Hey," to the king, and say, "Hey, we just want to walk through. Just give us free passage through your land." They aren't trying to do anything. The king there just decides no, and he gets up his entire army and fights the Israelites, and the Israelites just smash it, just destroy them. And so that's the build up to it. So the amount of it took over all the towns and just everything. I mean, beat them bad. And so Moab is responding to this, that this is what they're seeing. They have a ton of people coming through. It's, in my opinion, not the 3 million that I've heard years ago. It's a lot of people for that area at that time, is a good way to say it. So, but not so many that the land itself could not sustain the size of group. So Moab, the king of Moab, and some other king, they see this and they're intimidated, and so they're trying to figure out, how do we deal with this thing that's coming.
Gotcha. Very, very good. I also think this is a good time, in my opinion, to bring up the fact that the Bible is allowed to use hyperbole. I think some people sometimes don't understand that when they read scripture. They take everything super literal, and they don't understand that hyperbole as like a literary device is used sometimes. So what I mean is, when it says, when he says, look, a vast horde of people has arrived from Egypt, they cover the face of the earth.
Right.
Does he literally mean there's that many Israelites that they're covering the whole face of the earth? No, he's using hyperbole. I think a lot of people would be well served to understand that the Bible uses literary devices like hyperbole and metaphor and simile and that kind of thing a lot. Idiom, we talked about idiom before, and it's just a way of telling the story. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, nothing directly. I think this is one of the things that you can appreciate about the Bible is it is written through this human language lens, in that there is poetic and hyperbolic language that's put into it. And so I think instead of being worried as the reader of when is it hyperbole and when is it not, and we've kind of referenced this over and over again, but when the temptation there is to kind of there is work to be done with that in the study, but especially as we're analyzing some of these passages on a deeper level for the first time, read it for the intent of what the story is there for, and then when you need to cross the hyperbolic language of 3 million versus thousands, you can start looking into the study of how many people would you actually need to defeat another army. And yeah, I guess you'd be afraid of 3 million, but that's really, I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Our whole city and metropolitan area is 1 million people. So to kind of go 3 of Omaha and its surrounding metro area is wandering through the Middle East deserts, and that's a lot, so take it as it's this large scale, and it's this big group of people. So I don't know, I think poetic language, we do it all the time, right? The fish was this big, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time that you tell the story, and the point of it is not how big the fish is, it was how much you worked for it, and how important it is that I've got this big fish.
Yeah. Hyperbole being the exaggeration of a thing to make a point. And so that cover the face of the earth, that one seems pretty obvious. I think sometimes, I don't have an example right off the top of my head, but there may be times in which you're trying to figure out, is this hyperbole? I do have one. The ages, how old people were in the first few chapters of Genesis. Were they 900 years old? Were they 700 years old? Things like that. Is that how what is going on there? And I think Eric's pointing to, rightfully so. The way I say it is, look for the point of the story. Make sure you have a hold of that. Without the answer to that question, or if you answered it either way, does the point still hold up? Great. Okay. Now, if you really are curious, dive in and read people who have thought about this, talk to friends, people who have thought about it, and things like that. And ultimately, you are still on track because you haven't gotten rid of the point of the story. If we say they covered the face of the earth, the point that this person, this king is trying to make is there's a lot of them, and I'm really scared.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
So
if that means they're covering the face of the earth, then there's still a lot of them, and I'm really scared. If it means there's 100,000, 60,000, whatever, 3 million, it's still a lot of them, and he's really scared.
yeah. So you're telling me that those ages in Genesis, I think it's 5, aren't literal?
In my opinion, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there are a number of people who are amazing people who love the Bible, who believe it really matters. And I'm a real fan, keep doing your stuff. So
Sure.
just draw the conclusions that it's trying. I hope you're drawing conclusions that the story's trying to get us to. I hope I am too.
Yeah. So, and just really quickly, Greg, to piggyback off of the thing you said about the number of people and like moving through the land and all that, like I've heard anywhere from 2 million to upwards of almost 5 million estimated because of men, women, and children and blah, 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 all that. And like, okay, maybe, but like, but Exodus 23:30 to me would be pretty good evidence that that's not the case, because God says this to Moses about like settling in the land. He says, I will drive them out a little at a time until your population has increased enough to take possession of the land.
Mhm.
So 5 million isn't enough to take possession of the land, or there's not 5 million people. There's not 2 million people. It's probably, I don't know. I've heard as low as like 50 to 100,000 people was the actual Exodus. And so like, anyways.
I wonder how many
think
people are angry right now.
Right. Well, I think there's things in scripture that point to it not being the in the millions number. In the millions numbers, like it sounds good when you're preaching it, but like, is it biblically accurate? I don't know. So
I remember the first time. This is kind of important because we're talking about some of the wars that are happening in numbers and all that stuff. But I remember the first time. Do you guys remember this in Lord of the Rings: Return of the King? It's the big final battle at the White City, the capital of Gondor, and there's the giant orc army, and then all of these horse cavalry kind of start running in. And I remember watching the behind the scenes stuff of this, of like all of the digital effects artists going like, here's how we did this, and they're actually individual models and stuff like that, and they counted like they made like a program where you could say, hey, I want 100,000 orcs put into this field, and then it would populate all that type of stuff. And so they were showing it. It was like, hey, we wanted to show in like a crazy number fight that would happen with this. So they put in 100,000 orcs, and that's what it was. And it was massive, and it covers this whole field that they had like mapped out in like miles and miles worth of stuff. And so I think there is like sometimes when we in our our where we're at in our world right now and how battles are fought and stuff like that, like war is much smaller than this big epic. It's not Star Wars, it's not Lord of the Rings. Like war at this time was way more close and intimate, and it was brutal and dirty, and it was rough, and there was very clear winners and losers, but everyone lost. Like there was not a good war. No one was happy that it was happening. And so whenever coming into this story where we see that the Amorites were defeated massively, what this really means is that Israel didn't suffer losses like at the scale. And so that is intimidating as a king, and you see this nation that not only went to war, but they are still traveling and still able to move and do everything that they're doing. They didn't have to take time to recover. They didn't need to rebuild. They didn't need to like cover all the widows, and like they were just like, okay, battle done. Okay, we're still wandering. Like we still got places to go. You'd be terrified. Like that would be incredibly intimidating. That like, and so I think it's important to kind of, in the context of this, what the fear is coming from is like yeah, like he's not being actively threatened, but this army that has this God, and the tales are starting to spread of what this Yahweh did. Yes, you would start looking for all other resources to figure out how to stop this, you know?
Yeah, it's good. Thank you for bringing it back, because my question, I caused you guys to digress, so I'm sorry.
You're
thanks
good.
for bringing it back. So Balak, the king of Moab, he feels threatened by the Israelites. He calls for Balaam, this pagan prophet, to come to him, and this is where we left off. Verse 6: please come and curse these people for me, because they are too powerful for me. Then perhaps I'll be able to conquer them and drive them from the land. I know that blessings fall on any people you bless, and curses fall on any people you curse. I don't know if this is crazy for me, or if what, but this triggers thoughts of Genesis 12:3 to me, where God has this conversation with Abram, and he says, I'm going to bless those who bless you. I'm going to curse those who curse you. I'm going to bless the whole world through your family, Abram. And I hear that language here, and that's what I think of. Is that a crazy thought?
No, I don't think so. I think it's intended. I mean, the people who wrote the story. So I think it's fair. When you hear pretty close to exact wording, if not exact wording, then yeah, there's at least a good chance that the attempted communication has to do with you have the ability of the gods, maybe. So
thinking about that from the perspective of like the victors get to write history, that kind of thing. Is this like a sort of a foreshadowing of what's about to happen, would you say?
I don't know about a foreshadowing. The whole story of Balaam to me has some humor to it. I mean, possibly. I'm just now thinking through the foreshadowing thing. That he does predict what's getting ready to happen. So
it is. I mean, there's like, considering how this whole story wraps up with Balaam and Balak and all this stuff, and the Israelites are relatively uninvolved. It does kind of feel like an allegory. And I think you could read it like that and still get the meaning, or it could be somehow they got this account of what was happening from an Amorite or something like that. But I think it's interesting that, like, Ryan, like you said, the Genesis 12:3, like pulling up, hey, here's the blessing that God gave. And then the reference the king is giving is not to the Israelites. He's saying to Balaam, oh, you're the one who actually gives blessings that bless and curses that curse.
Nice.
Like, and so there is, like, from a writing standpoint, like, it's we kind of talked about this in a different podcast of what we're trying to see is and what I would say as the audience reading this is kind of consistently God is coming across these other figures of power, and he is dismantling them as he goes along. As he goes, hey, you're gonna wander and eventually you're gonna hit this promised land. But as we're doing that, we're going to define you as a nation to other nations, because when I plant you, we don't need them coming after you. And so I think there's like an interesting kind of looking at that even if it is allegorical, this story of, hey, we're looking at a false man God, someone who has false power, even though they might have the ability to speak into these things. I like that contrast,
and it could be allegorical and true.
Totally. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good. Are either of you guys both know James Dover, right?
We've met a couple times, but I'm not not totally personally. Through you and my friend Jordan.
Got it.
I'm going to say yes in case I do know him.
Okay.
That's awful. That didn't work. I've heard the name. Why have I heard it?
I can't,
So James was on staff with me at Christ Place for a while, and James James did sit under
Yes.
yeah
Jeez.
yeah I think it was Eric Smith and
Man alive.
Scott Booth.
I'm sorry, James, if you ever listen to this. I repent before you.
So James was instructing me in this one day. So me and James used to tag team teach Bible class for Christ Place Leadership College when we were both on staff at Christ Place. And man, he was instructing me in this one day, and I was like, oh my gosh. And one thing he said about this, as far as like whoever you bless is going to be blessed, whoever you curse is going to be cursed, that kind of thing. Like, it's also the story setting up that Balaam is supposed to be like this like rock star celebrity prophet. Like he's like known throughout the region. And so like it's just trying to build up the, you know, to the climax of what the story is. And so just something to keep in mind. So we just ended on verse 6. I'm going to summarize the next few verses, so we don't have to read all of it. So Balak hires Balaam to go curse Israel, and he sets out on his way. But then Balaam has this interaction with God where God speaks to him. God's like, don't do it. He's like, all right, you know, that kind of thing. And so he decides not to. And then these messengers from Balak, they take that back to Balak and say, nope, he's not going to do it. So Balak's like, well, send this message back. And that's kind of where we pick up. So they went back to Balaam, delivered this message to him. This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says. Please don't let anything stop you from coming to help me. I will pay you very well and do whatever you tell me. Just come and curse these people for me. But Balaam responded to Balak's messengers, even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord my God. But stay here one more night, and I will see if the Lord has anything else to say to me. That night, God came to Balaam and told him, since these men have come to you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you to do. So the next morning, Balaam got up, saddled his donkey, and started off with the Moabite officials. But God was angry that Balaam was going. So he sent the angel of the Lord to stand in the road to block his way. As Balaam and 2 servants were riding along, and then it goes to the next verse, but really quick. That's weird to me. What's that about? God tells him, like, since these guys are here, go ahead and go with them. And then he goes, and then it says God is angry that he's going. So like, what's that about? What's going on there?
It depends on who you read, I guess. I read one note that said that it was evidence of editing, in a sense, of different versions of stories coming together into one, which is possible. And then another one just kind of pointed out, it leans on that if we're intent on doing what we've been told not to do, you can work your way into all right, do what you want, and you can act like he's like you aren't being disobedient, but he's being disobedient. God told him no, and he can't control that someone's coming, that they came back a second time, but he can control saying, you know what, hang around a little longer, I'll see what happens tomorrow morning. Look, you're kind of setting yourself up. You're going to keep pushing this thing. And Israelite themselves actually did this one of those times too.
Yeah, I would say this is I'm interested to hear your guys' perspective on this, because as we continue through the Old Testament, there will be several times where we and even referenced in the New Testament, specifically with Judas, where we see that God turned them over to their thoughts, or he allowed it, or he made their heart hard, or an evil spirit was put upon them. So that's actually, I mean, just to join the audience, like these are parts that I'm still kind of figuring out, like learning the context and developing a little bit of I think there is like a free will kind of conversation in this, like to what you said, like, hey, if you're really set on doing it, God will turn you over to doing it. I don't know, Brian, what are your thoughts on that? Because let me sit as a student here on your guys' thoughts.
No, it's really good, and I think, Greg, I think you're onto something about like Balaam had full control, and like, well, let me stay here one more night and let's see if God changes his mind, like that kind of thing. Like that's just like testing God in a sense, and kind of like you said, God's like fed up, like fine, and it makes me think of what I spoke about today at church with 1 Samuel 8, where Samuel installs his sons as judges, but Israel doesn't like it because his sons are corrupt, and so they're like, we don't want them as judges, but also we want a king. And so Samuel goes to God and he's like, what do I do? And God's like, well, they're not rejecting you, they've rejected me. If they want a human king, they're rejecting me. So he said, just give them what they want. Basically, it's fine. You think you know what you want, go for it. That kind of thing. And like that's kind of how I read that here.
So is this a way for the writer to communicate God's sovereignty over the situation as a whole, while also saying, hey, you're going to make the decision. These people made the decisions they were going to make anyways. Like Balaam had the story, I guess, would say Balaam was testing it, and give it one more day. The money is enticing, and so let's go do that. And it's a way to still kind of say that God's in control of the situation despite our own actions with it.
Well, sorry, Greg, if you were going to say something. I think it's a way for the author, the storyteller, to help us understand that our God is not like any other God. So, any other like polytheistic gods, like the way that prophets would work and the way they would do prophecies and that kind of thing is like a lot of times they would like slaughter sheeps and they would pull out their organs and they would try to read the lesions and stuff and the organs and that was their sign from the gods. And you did that, you did that enough times until you got the sign that you wanted. To get the answer that you were looking for.
You're looking for.
Yeah. So essentially, like they've made up their mind what they already want to do, and they're just looking for confirmation from these divinatory practices to go ahead and go do it. Well, I think the author here is saying like, nope, that's not how our God works.
Yeah.
Balaam, who's this rock star prophet, rock star pagan prophet, this is how he does it, and this is how it works with his gods. It does not work that way with our God. I think that's one of the claims that's being made here, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a big picture. If we were to draw out like 5 or back up like 5 chapters and be able to see the entire thing in one lump, what I think the intent is to say that God is caring for this nation Israel. In the face of attacks it doesn't know are happening. So there's no one in Israel that knows this stuff's going on, nor the conclusion, which is also interesting, that we won't get to today, but that God is faithful even when we don't know that there's even threats. And what's being made of this is also a not just does God protect and inspire during war, but even the spiritual stuff that is going on here. God's taking care of that too. So they're bringing in, I had a professor call him the Michael Jordan of divination. They're trying to bring in, the best they can possibly find to curse these people, and God's putting his will against the one who's supposed to be the big deal.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not a contest. I don't want to imply that there was any form of contest, and that's what this this story is to me funny, and not at this second, but it gets funny with what they do. And I would say the hyperbole that you mentioned before also increases my tendency to see this story as having an intended view of a little bit of humor.
Yeah.
Well, it's the just maybe to put a note on this because the actual interesting part of the story is coming up still, but there could you between verses 21 and 22 could you potentially say that we're although God sends him, potentially God's anger towards him is from maybe knowing the intention of Balaam's heart in moving forward, what could turn God's anger from something you already asked him to do is you didn't fully obey. Like, so you did the thing, but your intention isn't to go do what I'm about to ask you to do. Your heart
I think
changed.
his intention was to not that Balaam not go.
Yeah.
Balaam keeps resisting, and God, to me, basically says, "Okay, go," but I'm going to use this again to accomplish the thing that I was going to do anyway. You're just making it more obvious now. You're gonna mess around. All right, let's mess around. I'm not gonna act like I'm happy about this.
I like that. Cool. That helps me a ton. I don't know if anyone listening feels that, especially when you come across those things. I think, like you said, there's a bigger picture to follow here, but also just within this story, it's not this God being schizophrenic and having multiple personality disorder within one, 2 verses or anything like that. But we're really seeing God's will versus our will at conflict here. Yeah, God still has a plan and is going to get his way.
Yeah, and I think this we can have similar questions at different points, like when God, right before God goes to Sodom and Gomorrah. We'll do an episode at some point on that.
Yeah.
There's a conversation between him and Abram, and hey, God, what if it's 50? What if there's 40? What if there's 30? Is God changing his mind every single time through this?
Right.
Is God uncertain about what's going on? And things like that. And so it requires a good look at the story to see what's going on. And sometimes Scripture is always teaching something, and some of the different tools it's using to do that. What are the conclusions? What is the story trying to bring us to, trying to get us to understand? And at this point, to me, it's saying Balaam, God told him not to go. Balaam wants money. Later on in the New Testament, it references Balaam, and it seems to be, I don't want to say I've got this on lock, but to me, they're pointing the sin of Balaam has to do with something with greed. And that seems to be a traditional view of that. But he wants something more than he wants to obey. And he seems to be used to being in control.
Yeah, that's I was just looking it up. 2 Peter 2:15. Forsaking the right of way. And this is out of the ESV. They have gone astray. They have followed the way of Balaam, son of Beor, who loved gain from wrongdoing. So yeah, I mean, I think there's absolutely, like, what's the cost of your soul? I think is a good potential question that we're being asked right in this. Is
Nice.
Balaam very clearly had a gift, used it for his own gain, and sold his soul to the highest bidder.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good. Verse 23, Balaam's donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand.
Wait,
The donkey-
what?
Yeah. It only gets crazier. It only gets crazier. Saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. The donkey bolted off the road into a field, but Balaam beat it and turned it back onto the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood at a place where the road narrowed between 2 vineyard walls. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it tried to squeeze by and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall. So Balaam beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved farther down the road and stood in a place too narrow for the donkey to get by at all. This time, when the donkey saw the angel, it lay down under Balaam. In a fit of rage, Balaam beat the animal again with his staff. Then the Lord gave the donkey the ability to speak. What have I done to you that deserves your beating me 3 times? It asked Balaam. You have made me look like a fool, Balaam shouted. If I had a sword with me, I would kill you. But I am the same donkey you have ridden all your life. The donkey answered, Have I ever done anything like this before? No, Balaam admitted. So really quickly, I think it's strange that this donkey that Balaam's had his whole life just starts talking, and Balaam's not taken back by it at all. Like that's weird, you know?
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
Verse
was he-
31. Oh, go ahead.
Was he in the practice of hearing from animals or donkeys or anything like that? Like where it was not shocking to him, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Verse 31. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the roadway with a drawn sword in his hand. Balaam bowed his head and fell face down on the ground before him. Why did you beat your donkey those 3 times? The angel of the Lord demanded. Look, I have come to block your way because you are stubbornly resisting me. The 3 times the donkey saw me and shied away, or 3 times the donkey saw me and shied away. Otherwise, I would certainly have killed you by now and spared the donkey. Then Balaam confessed to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. I didn't realize you were standing in the road to block my way. I will return home if you are against my going. So, really quickly, and if you guys have other thoughts, we can totally dive into those. But
Yeah.
I think almost everybody I hear talk about this focuses on the wrong thing as the miracle.
Mhm.
Everybody focuses on the donkey talking as the miracle, right? But I think the true like mind-blowing thing is like this donkey saw the angel of the Lord and this rock star prophet did not. I think to me that's the bigger
Yeah.
deal than the donkey talk. I mean, the donkey talking is crazy, right? Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying that's normal, but like that this animal could see the angel of the Lord, but this again rock star prophet who's best Michael Jordan of prophets, like he couldn't even see like that. This is his spiritual stuff, is his business, and he couldn't even see the angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bigger deal to me.
Yeah. Let's do wordplay here. For those of you who someone might have a problem with the word I'm getting ready to use. I'm going to use it both as donkey and in the intent that it's meant to make fun of, and it's the word ass. By the way, in 8th grade, I got in-school suspension because we were going around saying you had to give your grades to it was a substitute teacher, so I was acting out, and so it was B as in, she said, and do B as in boy and D as in dog. And so when it came to me, I said A as in ask, but she didn't hear the K. So I got in-school suspension for that.
Nice.
So anyway, so a fun way of saying this, and I think it really works. So this is seriously the only reason I bring it up is who's the ass? The donkey or Balaam?
Yeah.
And some of what's trying to get across there. Real quick, also verse 22. It says he sent the angel of the Lord to stand in the road to block his way. Fun little detail there. That's the word Satan in to be there to block, to operate as an adversary. The Lord is acting as a Satan. In having his angels. So it's the word means adversary, and this is an example of that. So
Maybe Satan isn't this ultra bad guy, the arch nemesis of God. Maybe
I would draw no conclusions from this.
different
And
podcast.
It's not because of anything other than it's just what that word means and what it's doing there. It has that's all it's doing. So, but it's fun that to me that is there. So, I'm tempted to just keep rattling on about this story. But I would say, let's go medium range. So big range, I kind of talked about where God's taking this thing, but medium range, what is going on in the story? What is the point? Do y'all think? Just in the passages that we've read is what I mean.
I mean, I think the part that I think is really important is God will make his way known. If it's his will, it'll happen. He'll use whatever device available in order to do that. I think I really like that part, but the ultimate story of this has been a running thing in my prayer and study time that's been coming up. So maybe I'm reading into it a little bit. But I always really like the idea, and some of the themes that happen through the Bible is that God is fighting battles for you that you didn't even know.
Yes.
And that he is doing this massive work in the spiritual realm of things that you're not even tapped into. And our on surface view of the things, it's like, oh, my car broke down, and you have no idea what didn't happen. You have no idea what curse was going to come your way. But I use an ass to speak to against it. That's my favorite kind of Balaam story theme, is God is fighting battles you didn't even know. And you're winning battles you haven't even lifted a sword for.
Yep.
All I can hear is, this is how I fight my battles. It makes me look like I'm surrounded, but that's all I can hear right now.
Hey, I like that song.
That's it. A little Elisha story.
Yes. I think verse 32 through 34 kind of tells us what the point of the story is, in my opinion. Why did you beat your donkey those 3 times? The angel of the Lord demanded. Look, I have come to block your way because you are stubbornly resisting me. And then in 34, Balaam admits, yeah, I've sinned against you. So I think that I think that's the point of the story overall, is God gave him instructions directly, and he is ultimately, he's not obeying, he's resisting. And so I think that's the point of the don't resist God. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it makes you what? And I'm being serious. I'm not, it is funny to me, but stubbornly resisting God. What animal do we use to illustrate stubbornness?
Yes.
And when you won't listen to God and you stubbornly resist, what animal are you acting like?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And which animal is elevated above this Michael Jordan of prophets?
Yeah.
And this is great, to the degree that verse 29, Balaam says, "You've made me look like a fool." No one made him look like a fool. Made himself look like a fool. If I had a sword with me, I would kill you. I've heard multiple people, by the way, read the word sword as sword, and there's a pet peeve. I've heard it.
Say what way?
Exactly. Sword. I know the W's there. It's weird. Just don't pronounce it. Anyway. That's it. And, so that's in if I had a sword, I'd kill you, in verse 29. And you jump down to 33. 3 times the donkey shied away. Otherwise, this is the angel saying to him, I would have killed you and spared the donkey.
Yep. Lower than an animal.
We have Balaam throwing off the entire plan of God in a way that the donkey is throwing off Balaam's plans. Balaam's the donkey. Balaam is the ass in this story, and is among the reasons why this is funny.
Yeah.
Because this incredible prophet is being diminished and reduced to nothing. And he's just so eager to go get his money. He leaves the prophets, or not the prophets, but the messengers behind, so he can get out the door and go get this thing. So anyway,
totally,
that's what's going on here. So we get, wow, an animal talked. Great. That's not the point of the story. Or did the animal actually talk? I don't know. I'm less interested in that. This story, though, is really pretty great. The way what Eric talked about, what Ryan's talked about, that this big deal is nothing in compared to the protection God's giving.
Yeah, it'd be like Michael Jordan losing one-on-one to me in basketball. So.
Right.
Um,
But he talks it up.
right.
Beforehand.
Yeah. So really quickly, and then we can get out of here. Just let me finish up the story. Then we'll get final thoughts. The angel of the Lord told Balaam, "Go with these men, but say only what I tell you to say." So Balaam went on with Balak's officials. When King Balak heard that Balaam was on the way, he went out to meet him at a Moabite town. Didn't I send you an urgent invitation? Why didn't you come right away? Balak asked Balaam. Didn't you believe me when I said I would reward you richly? Balaam replied, "Look, now I have come, but I have no power to say whatever I want. I will speak only the message that God puts in my mouth." Then Balaam accompanied Balak to a place that I'm not going to try to say, where the king sacrificed cattle and sheep. He sent portions of the meat to Balaam and the officials who were with him. The next morning, Balak took Balaam up to Bamoth Baal. From there, he could see some of the people of Israel spread out below him. So, yeah, final thoughts, guys. Final thoughts on this story.
Yeah, I think there's the story continues that Balaam goes out and tries to curse, but only blessings come out of his mouth. And to the best of his ability to still keep denying God's sovereignty and what he said and what he's asked Balaam to do. He goes against it and literally can't get anything but blessing to come out of his mouth. Tries it 3 times. I think that overarching story of God continuing to protect. I think that's a really beautiful thing. Whether this is allegory or not, I think it's really, really cool. As we were studying and you guys, we were deciding that this was what we're going to be talking about. I found this quote from C.S. Lewis that I really like. That for me, I know it's not the entire intention of the story here, but I've always really liked it. God has shown us that he can use any instrument. Balaam's ass, you remember, preached a very effective sermon in the midst of his hee-haws. And I really like that. I like a little bit of the humility of especially as pastors, and then anybody who we now have this ability to carry the voice of God, whether through his word or we feel like we walk in a gift of the prophetic word, to be very careful with how we use it, not use it for our own gain, and use it to bless God and God's people. And so as pastors, being really careful with hey, God will use any instrument to speak his message, but he chose you. So don't be an ass, I guess. But
Yep.
But although not the totality of the story, but what I get out of this is God is going to make his way known, and he'll use tools that seem unlikely.
Yeah, definitely. I would stick with what I've said before and what Eric's saying. I think to add in more story is that you hit what chapter is that? 25, chapter 25, and it switches scenes away from Balaam and Balak, and it goes into how Israel was seduced, or people in Israel were seduced by Moabite women, I don't like the way that they decided to go astray. They had opportunity and they went with it. So I don't like it when we when we make choices but blame other people for our choices. This is we have this whole kind of spiritual side that we're seeing almost as an us side to the story. And Balaam actually, at another point, recommends, hey, this is what you should do if you want to get them. And while I definitely hold to the New Testament point of view that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers out of Ephesians, I think there are some possible challenges, or some other word for that, that we don't see the actual choices that we're making as being the things that potentially are our downfall. We're like, we can have this idea, oh, the Satan's trying to get me down or something like that. Or, the devil made me do this or made them do this. Look what the devil's doing and stuff. When temptation in front of you and I doesn't mean we have to choose it. And responsibility for if I sin, because there's temptation in front of me and I choose it, that is my choice. I have done that thing. The reason repentance and confession are involved in this is because I recognize what I have done and I place it before God. Look at what I've done. Please don't hold this against me. It becomes a David prayer. In humility, we come before him and recognize our own responsibility for what's happened. Here we have the things outside of their control, God controlling, God stopping, God protecting, when placed in front of them, and he's not stealing their choice from them. When it comes to it, they choose to go anti what God has instructed them. And they reap the unfortunate consequences of that choice. And so these are somewhat not somewhat, but multiple stories and styles placed against each other to make it clear what's kind of going on here, and to contrast against each other. And it's really interesting writing, like you said, Ryan. Just really cool writing that's going on here, in addition to really poignant lessons that we can pull away with.
Yeah, that's good. I really love the idea that that even when we're unaware of the things that are coming against us, God is always fighting for us. God is always on, like he's always working for us. I love that. I might say this wrong. This story is a microcosm of our life. Maybe it's a macrocosm. I don't know which one's accurate, but it's a picture of how it is for each and every one of us. That even in the things we're unaware of, like God's not ignorant. He's not stupid to it. He's not caught by surprise by anything. And even when we don't know what's going on, he's fully aware and he's fully invested. I love that about this story. So
God's not the donkey.
Not at all. Not at all. So, all right, people. If you're liking what do you got?
I was ready for a question. You
No. I'm just gonna end it. I'm just gonna end it.
Okay.
Because we got things to do. We got, people to see, babies to shake, hands to kiss, all that good stuff. So.
Babies to shake.
Hands to kiss. So just kidding. I don't condone shaking babies. Disclaimer. So if you're enjoying the Odd Testament podcast, we'd love your support. The best way to help us to keep bringing this odd, inspiring, thought-provoking content is by showing us some love on social media. And here's how you can do that. First, take a moment to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Rate and review us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and
Do you mean like 2 stars?
5 stars only.
5.
That's
Wow.
all we want, or we want nothing. 5 stars only, or no podcast for you, right?
Yeah.
Your feedback helps more people discover the show, so we'll love that. Next, don't forget to subscribe, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those good things, so you never miss an episode when we release them. Whether you're, again, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, hit that subscribe button, follow us. We would appreciate it. And finally, follow us on social media for updates, maybe some behind the scenes content in the future, and who knows what else. But Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, even Facebook, like follow us on all those places so that you can stay up to date on what's going on. You can join the conversation. Your support means the world to us, and together we can share this odd and weird and just, the amazing stories of faith with even more people. So guys,
Together
thanks.
we can do this.
Together we can do it.
Together.
We can bring the podcast to the world. So really quickly, guys, I did get a message from somebody in Gambia in West Africa about our podcast. So
Wow.
just it's out there now. So
Nice. Did they ask for you to send money?
Send money.
And
they didn't. They
Good.
just wanted to bless us.
Oh,
To
nice.
Blessings to you guys. Thank
Good.
you.
love it.
That was
Let's
all.
go. Hey, thanks for
Awesome.
listening.
Do it.
Yeah. So guys, thanks for being on today. I will see you guys next time.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
See ya.